Hey guys, welcome back to the What About AI podcast. I'm Sean Boyce,
I'm James Perkins.
and the topic we want to talk about today is OpenClaw, formerly Moltbot, formerly Clawdbot.
Claudebot, yeah.
Yeah, so there was a whole kind of like naming saga there, but I think as of now, most people are referring to it either as OpenClaw or Clawdbot. I think the official name is still OpenClaw, right?
Yeah, it's OpenClaw.
Okay, OpenClaw. So if you're unfamiliar, OpenClaw was basically a vibe-coded, essentially open source project by Peter Steinberger, who has created a ton of impressive tech. I can't believe how busy that guy has been. And what it was essentially it married basically Claude Code, or Anthropic's AI agent, with the ability to essentially kind of run almost anything that anyone wants it to do. James will get into a more detailed explanation of the tech for us, but the most recent update there is basically OpenClaw or Clawdbot exploded. There were all of a sudden like hundreds of thousands and millions of users leveraging it to automate all kinds of wild stuff. And what has happened since then is there's some pretty intense competition for both basically the tech and the person who had created it. And I think that was between Meta and OpenAI, right? So in the end, OpenAI ended up acqui-hiring, I think, Peter and OpenClaw for what's rumored to be $1 billion, I think, which is like a crazy amount of money for something like this, an open source project that was vibe coded, that was done very quickly. To reach that kind of level is pretty unheard of. I can't think of other examples like that, but there's a ton to unpack on this topic. Where do you want to start?
There's a lot to unpack. I think the cool thing is Peter started this last May. So between last May and a week ago, it went from a project he had started just for fun, he was having fun with the agents, to something he open sourced, and he was getting feedback from the community over the summer. He made some changes. And then it really picked up steam late this past year, like November, December timeframe. And you saw usage in a couple hundreds to thousands. And then just in January, I think there were 150,000 downloads alone, like people setting it up.
Amazing.
So it went from one guy's idea, passion project, to almost 150,000 users in the course of six to 8 months, which is outrageous. And to getting acquired, to Sean's point, by OpenAI. And there was a little bit of a story there. So when you said the name changed, Claude had requested that Peter not use the name Clawdbot. And even though it was spelled Clawd, like lobster claw, versus Claude the name, Anthropic's ChatGPT product, it was something that they didn't want to be associated with. And they didn't like how folks were using token usage with the agent. Yeah. So Anthropic stepped in and said, please don't use our name. And also, by the way, we don't want folks using the API connections for this. Peter jokingly changed the name to OpenClaw, like OpenAI. And almost within a week or 2 weeks, Meta started reaching out to him to try to acquire the entire product. They saw this as kind of like the value prop they were looking for. And this is something that they were hoping they could integrate with their Meta glasses. So they have a ton of use cases now that are pretty effective. Like you can take photos of your family or videos of folks, things that you're doing. You can listen to music while you're doing a workout. But it's still not that useful for everyday tasks.
Yeah,
You can't say, hey, remind me later. Da, da, da. So OpenClaw could have done all this for Meta, and they made a play for it. ChatGPT and Meta, I don't know if you remember this, but OpenAI had kind of a hiring war, bidding war with some of their employees. Meta stole 3 of their top folks for similar paychecks, $1 billion each sort of thing.
Crazy.
And OpenAI did not want this to happen again, so they stepped in. They brought Peter in-house and the technology behind it. The cool thing is they're keeping OpenClaw open. And I think that will be really good for all the different use cases we've talked about before. If you want to, you can set the agent to do anything. So I don't want to talk too long, but I can go on. I can go on about this for days.
I know, this is super interesting.
Go ahead, I'll let you
want me to
change
jump
topics.
in? Okay, sounds good. So that's kind of the gist of everything that went down here. All kinds of AI war, saga, and whatnot. But I think what we want to kind of get into is what does this mean? So for our audience, right, learning about these updates, I mean, the thing that I would add is there was a technology way back when ChatGPT first came out, and people were trying to do, I think, what OpenClaw can do now. I think it was called AutoGPT or something like that.
remember that,
But
yeah.
the idea was basically, what if I want to run an AI agent continuously and have it do whatever for me? You know, figure out the grocery thing, book my travel plans, like listen or read my emails or whatever. like you wanted it to basically be a virtual assistant that you could have do anything always. And OpenClaw, I think, is the first example of that to reach mainstream that actually has those capabilities. It opened up a whole other types of challenges and things like that as well too. And security folks everywhere have been going crazy thinking about what that means, but I think it's a good example of where we're going. So not just where we are now, right? A lot of people are automating different tasks and they're automating processes and things like that with AI, or they're incorporating into their software products and things like that. But I think the real other shoe to drop here kind of is as all of these industries switch their processes to leveraging agents more than they're leveraging people. And just like having agents do what a lot of people are doing today. So I think the visualization and the understanding the vision for that is a little bit easier than actually figuring out what that looks like in practice. So I think OpenClaw has really opened up a lot of interesting possibilities for folks to see what this might actually look like and how we might actually do it. So that, I think, is my main takeaway. So now I think it becomes an element of, where it goes from here. How do they continue basically to commercialize this and roll this out to folks? And how do folks actually switch from how things work today in the current world or the previous version of that to leveraging agents for it? So that's what I think is going to be really interesting to kind of see happen from here.
Yeah, I think 100% agree. This is like bleeding edge. So if you're not in the tech scene, you're not a developer, you're not on GitHub on a regular basis, you're probably not actively using OpenClaw to the best of its ability, which is okay. It's brand new. But this is a vision of what's to come, and it's not far off. So if you want a home helper assistant, so let's say you try to use ChatGPT already, or you used Google Gemini, and you've asked it for the best price on toilet paper, it can go do that, but it won't ask follow-up questions and go buy it for you and have it shipped to your house. And it won't do that on repeat. It won't figure out when you need your next shipment. With agents, you could basically say, hey, learn a little bit about my life. Follow me day by day. Figure out how I live, what I do, what I purchase, and automate that for me. And it'll be able to figure out what it should do, when it should do it, and how frequently, how much it should spend, those sorts of things. It's possible to do that now, but it takes a ton of fine tuning.
Yep.
I'm using agents every day. I know Sean's using agents. We have folks that we're close with that are also in the tech scene that are using agents. The biggest problem I've had is it's hard to give all of them the same instruction or kind of rein them in. And there was no way to give them guardrails without giving them all the specific details each time I was spinning up a new agent or having them reference the same file. And different agents from different product suites, whether it's OpenAI or DeepSeek or Claude, and I hate to use the name DeepSeek, but I mean, their product is pretty good.
Yeah, it's out there.
It was hard to give them guardrails. So I built a product called Claude Rules, which the name we love because it's like Claude Rules. It's awesome. But Claude also needs some rules. And it's terrific. You just point your agent at the server. You can basically choose from a user interface what rules you want to apply to your agent. And it could be anything. Like there's templates if you want to make it a household agent and purchase products for your home, or if you want to make it an agent that takes all of your calls or handles your emails. There's templates that are already built for that. But then you can also get crazy custom with it, which I have done. And there's also, Sean's not sure how to feel about this. There's a sole creator profile. So basically, if you've ever played the game, any video game where you're building a character, The Sims, anything, Fallout, you name it, you can kind of create your own character. You can choose characteristics. That's built into this too. So you can actually give your agent a personality that it will permanently reference. So the context is continuous. It's always there on the server. And the agent is informed to always check in before taking an action. So it knows what its role base is and it knows what its personality is. And it gives some permanence to the agents, which has also been really much better for me. I mean, trying to train the agent every time it spins up, like go read this context file and go learn this. And oh, don't forget what we just worked on previously. I mean, it's doable and it was maintainable. It's just a lot of work for each separate agent. Now it's all in one place. So if you're interested in that and you're a super geek like me, it's clawdrules.com.
Cool. Yeah, so check that out. And I think that's kind of where I was going to go next before we wrap up this one is what does this mean for people like our audience? what I would say is if you're unfamiliar with how agents work, so not just AI, but agents specifically, where it's doing things for you in an automated way, bringing back results, taking input, and continuing along its path, you need to get that level of familiarity. And I would not just research it, but I would also try to play around with it. Like see if you can figure out how to get it to do some of these things. So James just gave an example where we've been figuring out how to put guardrails in place for agents, because one of the challenges with OpenClaw is for some people it has gone rogue. I think it was just something that came out yesterday where someone was using it for their email and it deleted some email. So that doesn't sound great. So the Claude Rules certainly has a use case, but think about maybe like if you're searching for a new job, for example, you could try to leverage something like OpenClaw to both like go find new jobs for you and then update maybe your resume to be specific to that job. And then it could send you updates on a regular basis whenever it finds something. So, hey, I found this role looks interesting based on things that we've applied for before. And I also took the liberty of creating a customized resume for you, maybe with a cover letter or whatever. So whatever it is you wanted to do, you can use agents and you can use OpenClaw for these use cases. I would learn that as much as you can and then figure out whatever it is you want to do. It doesn't have to be that use case, but think about what you might like to try to figure out if you can do with an agent, and then you're going to gain all that knowledge and be better prepared for where I think a lot of these industries are going as the agentic way of doing things becomes more commonplace and widespread.
Yeah, and so much of the stuff that we offer in the podcast is purpose driven, like how to find a job, how to secure your career, and that makes sense. That's what we're here for. But if you just want to have a good time, the Personality Creator is awesome for the agents. And if you're not doing anything else with your agent, try it out. It's pretty fun.
Cool. I think that's what we got for this episode. Anything else?
That's all.
Good. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks all.